My name is Skylar Cook, and I chose to work with the black population down in Aurora, Colorado. I chose this for several reasons. One, in this course, I've realized how racism is very much uh, similar to a ripple in the water, which distorts the image. And I realized that my own prejudices and biases have distorted my view of many different populations, specifically though the black population. And because of this, I hoped to immerse myself, to connect with, get to know the population, um, and have something kind of worked on that I realize has been underneath the surface for so long. What I did first in this project is researched the history and mostly just the present realities of racism in regards to the black population. One of the uh, really most interesting articles I read was by Garcia and Sharif, which looked at the societal impact of racism on the black community, meaning racism is not just this thing that happens in a bubble or between one person and another. It actually stems from a societal view that is conditioned. They talk about also not just the conditioning, but also how it impacts not just the interactions, but also the health of the people who are being prejudiced against. It talks a lot about mental and physical health and how that is altered in a very significant way in the black population. On top of that, Sue and company talked through microaggressions and how these really subtle ways of racism coming out are actually playing a major factor in the emotional health or lack of it in the black community. One of the most dangerous parts of the racism I've noticed in my research was how a lot of the American population believes that racism is dead. Sue and his colleagues did some research on it and realized that for the most part, uh, people believe that racism is no longer something that we have to deal with as a society. And on top of all of that, I read a really interesting article also about this self-fulfilling prophecy. I also looked at an article by Capodilupo, Torino, and Buccieri, which specifically looked at this idea that we live in a just society and specifically how it impacts the black population. In this research they did, they actually found that the black population that actually believes that we live in a just world struggles with more emotional health, specifically heart disease. And the reason they kind of hypothesized the reason behind this is because this black population believes that what they get is because they deserve it. This whole just society they believe in actually creates this expectation that they should be treated badly because they are wrong. After doing some research, I then interviewed uh, a member of Spiritual Minds Church where I did my volunteer work and also observed the black population and how they worship God. And while talking with AR, realized a couple of really interesting things about her upbringing. First off, how heavy a role relationships played in not only in her upbringing and her emotional health, but also in being almost a buffer between her and hard circumstances. She had an abusive father who left when she was young. Her mom was Islamic, and so she talked about not really fitting into specific circles. On top of that, she was never black enough. She said she didn't use slang, which apparently made her a white girl in the eyes of the black population that she lived around in Texas. But it was those relationships, those friends, and I realized that it almost goes counterintuitive to white culture, where we kind of isolate and insulate ourselves from others. After interviewing her, I worked with Spiritual Minds Christian Center. Pastor Brian Hester leads this organization. First off, their mission is to seek the lost at any cost. There's a strong drive not just to impact the physical and emotional health of their community, but also to really impact the spiritual health. They reside in a heavily Jewish community, but also heavily influenced by the black population. And so Pastor Hester talked openly about his desire to bring this community together. He says he sees a lot of people isolated and kind of um, insulated from each other, and he wants to see those walls broken down, which is why they host this Sunday morning worship service to be a church for the community. On top of hosting this service every week, they also do small things throughout the different seasons to minister to and serve the surrounding population. They collect coats and hand them out. There's actually a housing development just down the road, actually across the street from Spiritual Minds, which is basically the projects, according to Pastor Hester. And uh, what they try to do is provide physical needs for them. So that includes coats, food. This year on Thanksgiving, they brought food for them, and on top of all of that, they also provide, you know, food whenever they can. Pastor has talked openly about really how meeting those physical needs is a way in to meeting those spiritual needs. And then one of the cool initiatives that they're starting as an organization is they are beginning this thing called STOP, which is Spiritual Minds Tours of Prison, where Pastor Hester is actually trying to engage with the teen population around their community, provide them with mentors, emotional and physical support. While I was attending their service, they actually dedicated the baby of a high school couple, and Pastor Hester talked openly about the sin uh, that brought this baby into the world, but the sin wasn't the baby. And there's a strong drive with Pastor Hester and with Spiritual Minds to break into these spheres where teenagers are feeling isolated, specifically when they make decisions like this that are life altering, really step in and provide that emotional and physical support where a lot of times people just kind of forget about these kids and what they're going through. As I look back on this experience, I came in, like I said, with this ripple I felt in my soul and in my heart that distorted the image of really of what the black population stands for, what they have to offer. And in this experience, really developed a really unique understanding, and on top of that, a perspective that I didn't have before. I saw strength in the church service that I attended. I saw a group of people that were engaged in worshiping their God in a way that inspired me because of all the hardships that I heard them talk about, whether it's needing just another couple of dollars to get through the week, or the physical needs, or the emotional needs, and seeing this high school couple up there having a baby and this change of direction they probably weren't planning for. But within all this, I saw the strength in this congregation, and that inspired me. And I've also realized through it all that the importance of advocacy. When you're coming into a therapeutic relationship, you can't just always let the relationship end at the door. Sometimes there are material, physical needs where you have to step in and try to make a difference. On top of that, I believe that one of the best things I'm seeing right now that I think is something that I would love to see happen in any community that I work with is an organization that wants to take initiatives on to impact younger people who are dealing with these, again, life-altering decisions. This includes, having a child, a loved one dying, a friend committing suicide, a group of people that steps in and speaks up for these unspoken for kids in these populations where there aren't a lot of people looking out for them. And on top of all of that, I also feel like advocacy is important because of the service that the counselor is offering through that. I can't imagine having a relationship in therapy with a client, them stepping out the doors and me not caring enough to try to step in and to make a difference. And so overall, I believe that this process has been enlightening for me. It's been challenging. I've loved the opportunity to get to know Pastor Hester, AR, and the black population, and see really not only where the needs are, but to understand the need for advocacy in the counseling role. So thank you for your time, and have a great day.